So I'm having a chat with a couple of members of Grey Daze. How are you guys?
Doing
Hey,
great. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure is all mine. Now, the big news is you are heading out on tour across the UK in May. I bet you can't wait to be on the road, and I bet you can't wait to be coming to the UK finally.
it's a long time
Yeah,
coming.
we're very excited. Go ahead, Chris.
That's all I had. It's a long time coming.
How's the set list and how's the show planning going for it at the moment?
We are currently mapping out the set list. We know we want to play all the hits, but we've got some surprises, I think, for the UK fans that they're gonna get some first time. Well, I think everything's gonna be a first time for them because we've not toured in the UK before. But we're actually been rehearsing and flying Chris out from LA every couple of weeks and having a good time. We're really looking forward to this.
Yeah, nice. And what sort of things have you got planned for the UK audiences that the US audiences have already experienced?
Go ahead, Chris.
So, well, first of all, it's interesting because everything that is on these records that everyone's been listening to in its current form, it hasn't been played live. These songs were written a few years ago, and then the pandemic happened. Grey
Mm.
Daze kind of reworked these songs using Chester's vocals, and so the new experience is like these songs have never been played in its current format. And so this is probably the most unique aspect of this. We've been working some shows here in the US, and it's been really fun and really exciting. The reception's been really good. But in addition to all that, you know, we just kind of threw out the idea that we might want to write new music as Grey Daze era number two.
Hmm.
And we threw that idea out on a call for a radio show, and that kind of caught fire. And people were really interested to see what we could come up with. And so, sure enough, we started getting in the studio and writing. So I think what's going to happen on this UK tour is everyone's going to experience the music that's been written for the records, but they're also going to experience some of this new stuff we've been writing too.
Nice. I'll come on to that shortly, but sticking with the touring side of things, Chris, how is it for you taking what Chester did on the records and maybe making it your own?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That was the whole intention. I'm not looking to replicate, but I do want to celebrate what they have done together. And the idea was when we first got together, we had no intentions or aspirations. We just wanted to get together and see if this would work in a live scenario. And we got together, and it was very organic when we got into a studio. It just felt right. The guys had seen me in previous projects when I traveled through Phoenix, and so uh, they knew that, my background and my influences are Chester. And so I think it was just kind of a natural progression, but it's not something that I take lightly at all. This is something you can't mess up.
Hmm.
And this is one of the reasons why it's taken so long for us to come out to the UK.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think this one's based is more targeted towards Sean. What was it like in 2017 when Chester passed? What was going through your minds in keeping Grey Days going?
Well, I think those are two different um, answers. So, what was it like when Chester passed in 2017? Lost one of my best friends. I
Yeah.
lost my business partner. I mean, I felt lost for quite a long time. I was in shock, I think, for a good 6 months and was just, you know, trying to play damage control and help the family as much as I could. Um, when I just woke up one morning and just had this thought of we should finish this music, and the idea behind that wasn't to go get a record deal and do all this other stuff. It was just we had been working on this while Chester was alive, and it was important to all of us. And it was just let's just finish the music. That's really how it started. So I called Mace and Kristen. And I asked them to have a meeting. We went and met at my office and sat down. And I said, "Hey, I'd really like to see what we can do to finish the music we have." And they both said, "Yeah, well, what does that look like?" And I said, "I'll finance it. Let's just go in the studio and do it." once we started that, I started to realize fairly quickly, there were some painful moments for sure. We would listen to Chester's tracks and we'd have tears, but we also had some laughs and had some meaningful interactions between us as we were listening back to this stuff, and realized it was very helpful in the healing process. And it took, a couple years for us to get through that healing process. We're never going to get over losing him, but to be able to be at peace with what happened, not happy about it and not content, but being able to function and move forward with what happened. That took years, but I think once we decided to push the music to get done, that was a major step in all of us healing, and so it was very cathartic and helpful.
Yeah, I'm sure. And now touching on some new stuff on the way. It's now been a couple of years since the last record. You've started to work on some new stuff. How's that going at the moment?
It's going great. We started a few months ago, brought Chris out. We started bouncing ideas off of each other and wrapped up a few tracks, and then decided, okay, let's go in and record this for real. And we hired producer Brian Virtue, who's done his discography is ridiculous, but a lot of people would probably know him for the 30 Seconds to Mars albums, and Audio Slave, and a lot of really big records. So Brian's going to be coming out here in mid-March. We just, going back and forth with some producer notes at the moment, just to tidy up some of these tracks. But I think the fans are really going to love hearing the new rendition of the band with Chris on lead vocals. It was scary because we didn't know what to expect, and we didn't want to try to pigeonhole Chris into like, you have to sing like this or we have to sound like this. So we just kind of were very organic and free with how we wrote, and it came together pretty quickly. I think we were all pleasantly surprised at not only how fast we were able to come up with songs, but how good they ended up being with Chris singing, and listening to the way he writes his lyrics, and his perspective of where he wants to come from in a given song was refreshing for me to work with him like that.
Nice. And how does this new music sound in comparison to the albums of yours that are already out there?
I don't think it sounds like our other albums. It sounds like Grey Daze, which I know is a bit of a vague or broad answer. It sounds like us, but at the same time, it doesn't sound like any one specific song. But if we had to pin it down, I think Chris and I said this yesterday, where you would take a few songs, and this is just the first couple of tracks, right? So, but these first couple of tracks have a little bit of saturation, a little bit of B12, very high energy, high impact, very hooky, big choruses, anthemy choruses. So I think those are good descriptions. A little bit of sickness. So, but high energy is the best way I could describe it. Chris, would you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, the interesting part is like usually when bands progress through their catalog, things tend to slow down or maybe get more mellow, more introspective. Man, like when we got in, this is some of the most energetic music that I've heard out of Grey Daze. Um, I was shocked because I didn't know that Grey Daze had this in them. I mean, the intensity and the energy is something that I haven't experienced from Grey Daze. You can still hear Grey Daze, but it's like an energetic, it's like a new life. It's very, very interesting. So again, like Sean said, we didn't know what was going to happen, and we didn't have any expectations. We're just trying to get in and into a studio and see what happens. We did it the old school way. We all got in a room, not this the new wave of recording. It was just like, no, let's all get in. Let's all just kind of hash these ideas out together. And I'm pleasantly surprised.
Nice. And Chris, what's it like writing for and with the band Grey Daze as opposed to writing for yourself?
I'm going to answer that actually for Chris. It's got to be the most incredible experience of his life. There's no doubt about it. It's the best thing he's ever done. Am I right, Chris?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And It is there's so much pressure on this, none of the guys are putting any pressure on this. It's not like this is a self-created pressure because this is a very important project, guys. Like this is something that again it cannot be messed up. And I take this very seriously. And at the beginning of writing, I was like, I kind of struggled with, do I need to fit in this box? Like Sean was saying, do I need to fit over here of what Grey Daze used to do, what Chester used to do? And I fought with that internally. And again, when we got in the studio, it was just such an open environment where all of us could express ourselves creatively. And it ended up being a really, really fun and authentic process. And I think that I'm able to capture some of that old Grey Daze magic, but I'm able to bring myself to the project and my own personality to these new songs.
Yeah, great stuff.
No, absolutely. It's Grey Daze is taking on a new identity moving forward, which we have to. We can't live in the past current all the time.
Mm.
We paid proper homage to Chester for sure. We did it very carefully. We curated it in a way that I think was meaningful and kept the original intent of the music and our original intention as a group. We did those songs. We're very proud of them. We're going to keep playing them. We're going to keep give that stuff to people live. But moving forward, and as far as a growth of a band, we had to take on a new identity because otherwise, uh, we couldn't grow and move forward. And unfortunately, Chris would be stuck in the past with songs that he didn't write, and that's not really fair to him. So we had to be able to let Chris take the band on his shoulders a little bit and become the front guy, the front man of the band in his own right with his own songs. So that was important for us to do that. And we've told him that. I don't think he was expecting that from us when we sat him down and told him, because it's an odd message for him to come into a project that has this type of legacy piece and fan base where we're going, okay, well, this has to become your band. We have to curate this now in a new direction.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to the writing, how do tracks normally start off for you guys?
With Kristen creating a riff, I guess.
I mean, Krista, we've done it every type of way. We've done it with lyrics, we've done it with vocal melody, we've done it with drum and bass parts. Mace will come in with a riff, Kristen will come in with a riff. Chris sat down with a riff one time. I mean, so we've kind of written every way. These two particular songs that we're going to record and release now, both started with actually the first one started with the Mace's bass line, and the second one started with Kristen's guitar riff. So
Like
kind of all over the place.
like super organic. Like I don't know if bands write music like this anymore, where they actually get in a studio together. It
It's
was
not
I
common.
had I had right. I hadn't done it in years, probably like 10 years. I haven't written in a room with people, so that was really special.
Yeah, I can well imagine. And with these new tracks on the way, when do you think we might be hearing them?
I think it's important to get it right. And I think that everybody's on board with that. So we have demos of them. Like Sean said, we're gonna get in the studio with Brian Virtue and record them properly and get the proper production behind it. I know that I know that we're going to give the UK people a sneak peek of what this is all about. In terms of when we're gonna release it, I don't know. We're gonna make sure this happens organically like we've been doing with everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, it's been a pleasure having a chat with you.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Appreciate you, my friend.